Okay, so I'm pretty sorry about this. I have to actually make another update because I left something out of the last update when I was so focused on talking about the Ronkonkoma, changes that'll be coming up next week that I forgot. I actually saw this, but I didn't notice it. This is a pretty big outrage. So what ended up happening is the 11:03 a.m. train from Huntington doing Penn had equipment trouble, and then it was canceled. And what did they do? They made people wait a whole hour for the next train. They didn't get another train. Now, I don't understand why they didn't get another train. There should have been another train on standby. I know Huntington does not have a yard, but it usually has like a storage track. So they could have gotten another train out of there. But they didn't. They made people wait a whole nother hour because Huntington service actually in the middle of the day runs every hour in middays. The Huntington is really not that much better than the Ronkonkoma line, But Huntington is one of those places that a lot of people use the train, but there is a really large, I'll just say a real, the service is, what I'm trying to say is that the service falls extremely short of the demand at Huntington. So they wound up doing this, and we'll see a couple of comments. What does this mean? And so they had to wait to the 12:03 train. He has a class to get to at 1 o'clock. All right? So there were 3 more comments on that. We're waiting back to hear from our operations personnel. We have received word the 11:03 train, all customers will be accommodated by the 12:03 train. So they made people wait a whole nother hour. A whole nother hour. That is completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. This is actually damaging communities. And I'm actually, on the next day, I think, or so, I want to make a video about how the service patterns on the Long Island Railroad are actually starting to hurt the economy of the middle of the island and the North Shore. And that's why the South Shore is thriving, because the train service there is so much better, and that's part of the reason why the South Shore is thriving. But this is just bullshit. This is complete bullshit. No reason why they shouldn't have been able to get another train available to serve them. Alright? So this person is trying to, and if you don't like it, guess what that person probably had to do? They probably had to take a taxi. Alright? They probably had to take a taxi. So, yeah, this is absolute bullshit. And I'm dismayed because now we've had I know it's not gonna happen instantaneously, but this should not have happened. Mr. Ng should not, he needs to make sure that the kind of stuff does not happen. And I really am worried because I've been disappointed by so many people, and I'm worried that Mr. Ng will disappoint me too. Disappointment with public officials and is a constant issue with things. So you could see here that happened. Yeah. Meanwhile, the people on the Babylon branch will whine about some small thing. You got to remember this happened too. The 712 wound up getting canceled too. No, not a problem on the Babylon branch, of course, as always. So it's always about the Babylon branch, and I'm worried that's going to continue. Remember, these are people that have a lot of money, and a lot of clout, a lot of political clout. They're not going to give up so easily. All right. So that's just one thing I wanted to update you on. I think it's ridiculous. I think the railroad should be ashamed of themselves, making people wait a whole hour for the next train. You guys should be ashamed of yourself. All right, that's the bottom line. You should be ashamed of yourself. All right, that's all I got to say. This is the kind of stuff that needs to change, and I hope Mr. Ng puts a stop to it. And let me just say one last thing. I don't want to make this a long video because I have another video I have to talk about something else with. But there's been a lot of ridicule of Mr. Ng from certain people who probably on the Babylon branch that are ridiculing him. So this is what we're up against, folks. I don't want to hear these people on the Babylon branch whining about being delayed 10 or 15 minutes when people in Huntington winds up being delayed a whole fucking hour. That's something to whine about. That's it.